Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my guitar shed and the third in a series of campaign videos meant to inform you as to who I am, what I stand for. And if it's 10 years from now, you're going to look at these and go, okay, that's probably how you might run for office in a small rural school district. So this is the third in a series of episodes. The first one was called Secrets of Closed Session, or where board members get in trouble, or what the common rules are and how to stay out of trouble. The next one was board member superintendent relationships, how healthy stay in your lane relationships are maintained. So the focus on the school district's strategic plan and goals and priority exercises that are focused on student achievement. Imagine that. Schools focused and measuring performance on student achievement. And we talked about what kind of trouble there is in that area when the board member superintendent relationship goes bad. And now we're going to get into the really slippery slope, which is board member staff relationships, where you forget that you're not a parent now and you start going around the superintendent. And that snowball we talked about in episode 2 is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the lawyer bills are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and your focus is getting further and further away. Now, I'm going to give you a link up here. The first episode in the playlist you're going to see. So the playlist is going to pop up. This episode will go to the end of the a list in that playlist. So if you haven't seen this, then you don't know where I am or what I'm doing or who I am or whatever. So do yourself a favor, back out of this one, click on the link. The playlist is School Board Insider, and watch the series. So I need to get something out of the way here. I am a candidate for my seat. I'm an incumbent candidate for a seat that I have held for 6 years, and I've gone through 2 elections and been placed there by popular vote. So this will be the third time I'm after this, and those first couple videos will shed some more light on that. I am not speaking for the school board. I'm not speaking for the school district. I am putting what I think out there, and the comments below are disabled. We're not going to set policy. We're not going to talk about that I'm a terrible person or I'm a great person, somebody else is doing the wrong thing. Now, you may find some things in here that I'm going to say sound really, really familiar. Sorry, people, the world's not all about you or me. But none of the things I'm going to tell you aren't things that happen pretty regularly in school districts, when people lose a focus on the fact why there are school board members, why there are school trustees. We are there to monitor what's going on in the interests of the taxpayers that voted us to be there, so they don't have to go every other Thursday and sit through long meetings. They kind of trust you to do that. I am going to talk about the underground school board, because there's always one. And then in a future episode, I'm going to say, hey, instead of having the underground school board, why don't you create school board members and committee members that can serve in the future? And I've got a good example on how to do that. And we'll get that in another episode. I think they call it team building or succession planning. Is that the buzz phrase? Anyway, don't forget, I gave you the disclaimer. This is just me talking to you. So let's get to the business of school board staff relationships. Okay, in the business of K through 12, now it's pre-K and special day class. Even before that, sometimes we get kids at 3 years old. But in the business of typical K through 12 education, there are 3 groups of what we call staff. Staff is the people who are employed by the district. You have certificated staff. Those are the people that have teaching credentials. Those are the ones that are really important, that are in the classroom saying, Johnny, this is how you figure this problem out. And hopefully, as Johnny gets older, even when they're very young, Johnny, this is how this and this will help you in your life as you discover yourself as an individual. You remember that teacher that you had that finally saw you as an individual or made you feel like you were an individual that had potential as soon as you found yourself and what you're good at? Yeah, that's what this is really all about. So you got certificated staff. Then you have classified staff. Those are all kinds of different people, but their role is to support the teachers and what's going on in the classroom. And then finally, you have the administrators who run all this stuff. They do policy and management. Policy is the board stuff, babysitting the board members. Management is the budgets, the facilities, all those kinds of things. So you got certificated, classified, and administration. Okay, where I work, maybe I should tell you the topic. The topic is typical work expectations, okay? So where I work for a governmental agency. I've been there for more than 2 decades. You can hear the story in the first episode just by hovering your mouse up there. There'll be a link to that playlist at the end. So the first episode is going to tell you more about what I do. But in some public or governmental agencies, you have what are called enterprise funds. So it might be a sanitation, a water, a wastewater, any number of enterprise funds. And those have rate structures. And so what somebody has to do is they have to say, okay, it costs this much to hire this many people who do this and this and this, and we're buying this from here and here. And all that adds up to a cost that's divided by unit of electricity or water or whatever. And this is how we charge the taxpayers for the product, whatever it might be. Now, if you're at home and all of a sudden your wages aren't increasing as much or more each year as your utilities, then your buying power and your budget goes down. This isn't math major work. So you start watching your electricity bill go up and up and up, and you drive down the road to work and you come home and you notice that the people who are working the electrical trucks are still at the cafe at 10 o'clock in the morning. So you start wondering, am I paying for them to be there? Am I paying for the trucks and the gas and everything to go there? And if I wasn't paying for that, would my electrical rates be so high? So there was a movie someone did called Living in a Fishbowl, where they followed public employees around and showed this is your tax dollars at work. So if you're a public employee like me, that's the last thing you want. You want to be accountable. And the way you are accountable is through work plans and performance measures. So we talked about in episode 2 the importance of rating the superintendent through your strategic plan and the performance measures and board priorities that go with it. That way everybody knows what's going on. There's not all this paranoid stuff going in the background. And when your performance measures, when you're not measuring performance like that, then you have a problem. So I think that most taxpayers think that most people, they're not going to kill themselves every day, but they're going to give an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Would you agree? Let's call that the measure. So how do you measure an honest day's work for an honest day's pay? Well, people are busy. They're moving around. I don't live on the campuses. I'm not one of these people, I hear people coming to the podium, you never visit our campuses. So what am I going to do? I'm going to sit in a classroom. I'm a tree guy and I run programs. I don't see teachers coming to my work and going, hey, you should do this, or I don't understand what you're doing, so you should do what I say. No, I tour once or twice a year. But I don't disrupt the campus with my presence as a school board member. I don't find identity in that. And yeah, I trust the teachers. You know why? Because they taught my kids. One of my kids is very dependent on people. And they have taught both of my kids, the ones that are younger. I have older ones. But yeah, I didn't have a problem. So I don't need to go check on the teachers. So the thing is, you're going to stay busy and you're going to be measurable. Meaning, well, to a teacher, that would mean I'm going to teach the second grade curriculum. I am going to see if there's some problems with some of the kids. I'm going to seek help in getting resources for those kids. But I mean, you have teachers who are in the room with 20, 25, 30, 35, or in some places even more than that. I don't know how to handle my kids when they get rowdy, much less 30 kids that I don't even know. So yeah, my hat's off to the teachers. So if you're going to measure productivity in education, I think you measure the teachers, right? Make sense? So you got the teachers in the classroom. Who's supporting them? And how are they supported? Well, you've got the administrative team putting together what's called the LCAP. It's a local control plan for your school. You used to have to budget for every little tiny thing, and it was very cumbersome. So what the funding source at the state and county level said is, hey, you guys figure out how to spend your money, but we need you to pay attention to those areas where you need to do a little bit better. Some of these scores don't look that good. So you're going to write a plan that addresses general education and then some of these areas where you might need improvement. That's called the LCAP. And so the LCAP is tied to your strategic plan. So every year, every 5 years, you kind of look at your strategic plan and saying, hey, in these areas where we're excelling, we want to keep excelling. We want to add programs that are relevant to the high school kids if the job market is changing. And we also want to make sure that our measurables in those areas that we need improvement in the LCAP are defined, and that's blended into updates in the strategic plan. The superintendent, their performance is compared against that. The goals are compared against. It's very clear. It's so clear. And all this is put out in public meetings. There's very few things that we don't talk about that happen in closed session. So again, one, closed session, episode 1, closed session. Episode 2, how the superintendent gave you a lot of information, how the superintendent is rated. Anyway, so you've got the staff supporting the teachers who are already teaching a known curriculum. Believe me, they don't just go in there and do whatever they think they would do. They take a known curriculum that's been approved by the state of California, and they roll that out and they modify it to make it significant to each child. Try doing that. So all this is very, very measurable against the LCAP and all this stuff. And me coming into the room, especially if I'm a school board member and hanging out, it all of a sudden breaks everything up into what are they doing here? Behave, kids, you got this guy coming in. It's just disruptive. I like to go by on a tour, but I certainly don't like to disrupt a class. Now, let's talk about me as a parent and what I would expect versus me as a school board member. So let's say I have a problem as the parent of a student or students. The first thing I have to think about is maybe the problem is me. Maybe the way I perceive education and how a child should be educated is different because I'm a tree trimmer, right? Captain Obvious at work here. Maybe I would have a conversation with the teacher and say, how can I be more informed so I can support what you're teaching at home? So homework is not such a problem in a stress party. Maybe I could start there. Now, maybe there's something that the teacher doesn't know about my child. I don't want my child to receive special treatment because when I'm not there, the other kids are like, why is that kid getting all this attention? It doesn't do anything for the social credibility of your child at school. And something else. Now let's get to those parents. Right away to the superintendent. They skip over the teacher. They skip over the principal. They skip over the education director. Now in a bigger district, you might have 15 people in between each one of those. In our district, boom, 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 and right away you're calling up the superintendent. And you're very upset. Of course, you're always upset, right? So you call up the superintendent, hey, I want something to happen. So the superintendent is going to run right over there because they know that that teacher has a subversive plan to destroy the education of your child while everyone else succeeds, right? Come on, really? So superintendent goes over there, hey, whispers, points at the kid. Kid goes home, hey, the superintendent was in our classroom. He pointed at me. Bully parents like, yeah, hey, I won. What'd you win? What did you really win? If there's a need in the classroom that's so egregious that it might affect more than your kid, that's a policy thing. That's a resource thing. That's something that the admin team can do something about. And if somebody calls me up and says, and I talked about this in previous episodes, somebody calls me up and says, hey, Pfalzgraf, I trust you. I know you're honest. I know you keep people in place. I think there's a little problem here. And here's what I think. Then I can have a talk with the superintendent and say, hey, I had this input. I don't name the parent. I don't name the kid. I don't tell say the teacher is this, the teacher's doing that. I don't know anything about it. There's a policy issue that's raised, and we have a professional discussion about it. And maybe there's something that we're missing. Maybe there's too many kids. Maybe there's not enough support. There's got to be an answer, because in all those plans and all those exercises I talked about, there's measurement going on. And if what you're saying is true, it's probably showing up somewhere. We appreciate your input. But for me to just dive into the classroom and throw my weight around, or as a parent act like everybody's guilty just because I'm not informed, yeah, that's not a good combination. That is not a good combination. And when you put two of them together, a parent that's aggressive first and then becomes a school board member and starts showing up in the classroom, you got a huge problem. And that problem affects all the kids. Okay, so I've talked to you already about what I think about me hanging out at schools. You can say I'm not engaged. You can call it whatever you want. I need to be more visible into the community. I need to be more available to the community. What does that mean? Does that mean that I get that little select group that considers themselves special influencers and I respond to them because I need to win? I need to win the election. People, I really need to win because it pays zero. A lot of it's frustrating. A lot of it is controlled by state law. There's things you can and cannot do. It helps if you know what those things are. And I covered that especially in episode 2. But yeah, I don't have to win. Let's talk about what measurability looks like. And I want to talk about the teachers. I'm going to use them to define it. Remember the guys sitting at the cafe half the day, and then you're driving by a road crew and 10 of them are over there doing this and the one guy's working and you're paying for it? Okay. I think one of the best measures in the work environment is a teacher. Because unlike other people, let me give you an example. I'm a school board member. I come onto the campus every day about, I don't know, 1:45, drive up in my car, I sit there. First day somebody comes out, a staff member, hey, how you doing? They're not going to ignore you. You're a board member. Maybe you're a promising board member in your own mind, right? So they come, they talk to you. The next day, this turns into an everyday deal. Show up there every day, and you know what? They got this new thing. It's called windows. You look through them, and you see the same staff member out in the parking lot with the board member every day. Where are the teachers? Yeah, they're the measure, right? Who cannot leave and go sit there and chit-chat with everybody for a half hour a day? It's the teachers. Because the minute a teacher leaves the room, you got 20, 25, 30, 35, or even 40. Some schools have so many kids in the classroom that you have to have an an auctioneer to count them. But the minute a teacher leaves a room, everybody knows that you got all these witnesses. Where's our teacher? Where's our teacher? So you got teachers out there looking out the window, and they're watching me, the board member, monopolize the time of a staff member or the principal or something like that. Think about what that does. It says, I'm in here working. There are probably some resource needs I have. Could use a break every once in a while. Be nice if the principal came in and visited the classroom and said, hey guys, all y'all doing a good job, but everybody's out there playing politics in the parking lot. So in addition to collapsing staff morale, I don't know how many people go to work. I don't know how many principals go to work and go, hey, you know what? Here's my plan for the day. I'm going to do this and this and this, but I'm going to go talk to Pfalzgraf in the parking lot for a half hour. That's in my schedule every day. You really think people do that? Why is he out there? So you're going to tell the board member, you know what? You are disrupting my day. You're keeping me, you're monopolizing my time. I'm not being productive. My whole school is looking at me out here chatting with you instead of doing any work. Is that the reputation you want? And again, do you have a captive audience here? We talked about that in episode 2. Hover up there. Move your mouse around up there. You got captive audience because of the color of your office, the influence you hold. And then you're around the campus all the time. Next thing you know, sometimes people go, well, if he can do that, why can't I do that? And then the next thing you know, you got a couple people joining you. And the next thing you know, you've got people who are hanging around, and quasi-policy gets set that way. Quasi-policy, what is that? You know what? There's that one family. I've never liked them. Their kids are disruptive. The father never waves at me. I heard the mother was gossiping about me. Don't like me. I noticed that kid's over there causing a lot of trouble. You should discipline that kid. Well, we really can't do that because of 1, 2, 3, all kinds of things that we don't know about. Back to episode 1, secret of closed session. Well, you know what? I think you should do that. Or, you know what? I don't like that one teacher. They were bad to my kid 74 years ago. And yeah, they shouldn't be here. You still got them here? You start making comments like that. Next thing you know, you're bullying principals out. You got this little clique of people running around on the campus. The underground school board, that's what I call them. What I would say to those people is, really, look, I can understand why you're frustrated. But what happens if I, as a board member, conduct myself that way on a campus? So here we go again. Here's Ken getting all legally paranoid. Well, here, try this on. I'm hanging around the campus. I tell you to do something. I kind of hint around that you should do it because we've gotten really comfortable in our little chat in the parking lot every day. And so you feel pressure to do it. You go to the district office, the superintendent says, no, you can't do that. Then you have to go back to the parents and say, oh, the district office won't let me do that. So we villainize the district office and we're being pushed along by people. So we're caught in the middle of what the district office has to do and what these people want to do, and we're on the site getting tore up from the floor up over it. So if I'm a board member and I'm caught in the middle of this, sometimes things escalate, sometimes behaviors escalate, and I find myself in closed session having to discuss an employee matter, and I'm in the middle of it. I might even been part of it, and the whole process has collapsed then and corrupted. So a board member, if you're a parent, you really, really want to think about the perception of you being on the campus and what it means. Next, when people approach you, I've heard board members, you know what, you got a problem, you call me. Wait a minute. I did a video about what makes a good board member, and part of that was building consensus. So if you're up there promising people, you call me, I'll take care of it. You can't take care of anything. you're one board member. And if you're doing that, chances are you're not going to be able to do anything. So then your excuse is, well, I would really like to do something, but you know what? The other board members aren't with me. So that makes you a victim. It doesn't make you a good board member. It shows that you can't build consensus, that you're not focused, and sometimes you have to tell people, hey, look, I'm going to pass you along to the superintendent. I'm going to give them a call if you'd like and say, hey, I just had a call from somebody that's one of my constituents. Because remember, board members, we're not school district employees. We're not there to be the enemy of school district employees. We're not school district employees. We represent the taxpayers. We represent all the taxpayers. So if there's a concern and you call me, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to call the superintendent. Now, I can either have them check it out, but if I do that, you'll never know. There's things I can't report to you, but thank you for calling. Or I can say, I'm going to give them a call if you like and let them know that you're going to be contacting them. And that's the healthiest way to do that. I don't go traipsing on and stomping into people's offices and use the color of my office. So if you think about these things, I think they're going to make sense to you. And I think that the more we conduct ourselves as parents with hope and respect. Remember, what job do you know of where you got 25 witnesses around you? If you leave the room for 5 minutes, they know you're gone, but you're looking out the window and you're seeing, what is this? Am I the only one working? I don't want our teachers put in that position. Do the right thing as a parent. Try to understand what the teacher is doing just because we don't understand. I was in elementary school 40, 50 years ago. I'm not up on things. Of course, I'm not going to understand what they're doing. Maybe I need to so I can support the learning at home. That's a good thing. If there's a problem, follow the chain. Give the teacher the respect to saying, hey, I think there might be a problem here. Be objective, listen. If you're going to have to go to the principal because you suspect there's a resource problem or a support problem, tell the teacher that I'm going to go to the principal. Don't threaten people, but follow the food chain. Very seldom will you need to get to the superintendent because, hey, we got pretty good plans. Visit the district website and you'll see the signature programs. I said the word we, the taxpayers, the other board members. Ask them what they think about the signature programs we have. Okay, I've rambled on long enough, but I think I've given you some good insight as to why board members need to stay in their lane when it comes to expecting treatment that any other parent in the school district would not have, just because they're not on the school board. Alrighty then, as usual, since we're in my guitar shop, I'm going to tell you what we're doing here. This is a 1940 Harmony Patrician archtop. Very resonant. Now, I know it's a 1940 because it has binding, see this, only on the top side of the guitar where it meets the edges. In 1940, somebody in corporate said, hey, I think we can save money by putting binding here and not here. Well, the only people that made any money off of that idea was people that have a 1940 Harmony Patrician now. So, hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon, and I will appreciate your consideration on November 8th in the general election for the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Board of Trustees.